Hey everybody, it's your old friend Dominic Tringali again, doing another one of my informative IMDB Top 215 review videos. As promised from last week, this week I'm going to be reviewing Sergio Leone's 1966 classic, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. So I bought this as a DVD Blu-ray combo pack, and I feel like if you're going to buy a movie nowadays, you should try to buy it as a DVD Blu-ray combo pack because obviously Blu-ray has the superior video and audio quality, but having the added benefit of a DVD copy means that you can watch it on most of your commercially available PC or laptop formats because most commercial hardware isn't yet equipped with a Blu-ray player. And also it allows you the freedom to, let your friends who don't happen to have a Blu-ray player borrow and watch it, which, I feel like, I don't just put these movies up on my shelf to look at. They're like a good book meant to be shared with others. So anyone who's willing to take care of my movies and make sure that, I get them back, I'm always willing to let them borrow them. So something kind of pissed me off is I bought this on eBay brand new and I got a good price on it. But when it came to me, the inside of the packaging was wet. The outside was completely dry, but the inside was wet, and it damaged the inside cover of the Blu-ray. And it's kind of like this thing that just picks at my brain because I really pride myself on trying to take care of my shit. But now I have this like really jacked up copy. So if you know where I can go to print off a new copy of the insert that goes in the case, I would really appreciate you putting a link down below, or sending me some sort of some advice on how to go about that. So this film is actually the third in a trilogy, also known as the Man with No Name trilogy, and the first, of course, being A Fistful of Dollars, and the second being For a Few Dollars More. And even though they're a trilogy, I don't find that they are interconnected at all. The only really binding connection between the three movies is that they all three star Clint Eastwood as the Man with No Name. And despite him being quote-unquote the man with no name, he seems to have a lot of nicknames. And in this film, it happens to be Blondie. So, which, I think is kind of strange because I never really thought of Clint Eastwood as a blonde. So, this film is a spaghetti western, and Sergio Leone is probably the best known spaghetti western director there is, okay? And this movie is probably the best known spaghetti western in the genre, or as many people would consider it, a subgenre. Hardcore western fans don't necessarily consider spaghetti westerns to be a true element to the greater western genre. Typically they're filmed in Spain or Italy, starring Italian actors, and always directed by an Italian, usually filmed in the original Italian, and then later in post-production dubbed to English for North American distribution. And to get that authenticity of the original director's vision for the film, I watched this with my friends in Sicily in Italian, and despite its over 3 hour runtime, we all thoroughly enjoyed it. So, like I said, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, or by its Italian title, Il Buono, Il Brutto, Il Cattivo, which is strange because if my Italian doesn't fail me, should be the good, the ugly, and the very bad. And I guess that's just really nitpicking if I really dig at the name too much. But this film is probably the film that all spaghetti westerns are measured up against. And it's the story of three men, okay? The protagonist, of course, being Clint Eastwood, the Man with No Name, or Blondie, who, he's a bit of an anti-hero, okay? He's not your typical, white knight on riding into every gunfight, saving the day. He's as far as probably like a D&D, people who are familiar with the alignment system would be saying he's chaotic neutral, and it does not necessarily make for a classic prototypical protagonist, but he is paired up with the ugly, who is played by Eli Wallach, who is this menacing Mexican outlaw by the name of Tuco. and the two of them are part of some sort of like scam where they are defrauding local authorities by cashing in on Tuco's bounty. And at the last minute, Clint Eastwood's character takes this like impossibly skillful shot from a rifle to snap the hangman's noose by the rope, and moments before Tuco has his neck snapped. And so it's just bizarre as far as their relationship goes, because you honestly have two really polarized characters, and they're kind of like frenemies, and it's the best adjective I can describe their relationship. They're like frenemies, and I'm not going to give away too much, but eventually their relationship kind of breaks down. Tuco feels incredibly jilted, and he's forced into to seek vengeance against his former partner. Okay, so the two of them end up in this brutal trek through the desert, and they find out about this gold that has been stolen and hidden in a graveyard in some small village. So each of them has a different piece of the puzzle, and so they have to again come together in a partnership. And so they very strangely end up in a POW camp, because this film is backdropped within the time frame of the American Civil War, which is something you don't typically see in Westerns. But they end up in this POW camp where they just happen to run across this third character who is played by Lee Van Cleef, who I guess would be the bad, because he's this monstrously vile bounty hunter by the name of Sentenza. And so he also wants to find the gold, and because he discovered that it existed through completely different means than the main characters, and how they found out about it. And so they eventually escape the clutches of this bounty hunter, and then they find themselves faced with this pitched battle between the Union Army, who are like entrenched in this artillery position, and the Southern Army, who are defending the strategically placed bridge. And they have to get to the other side of the river, but there's these two armies in the way. So they temporarily join forces with this incredibly alcoholic Union general who buys their bullshit story about how they're part of some volunteer force that wants to join the Union forces. So they get after that they end up in this final duel between each other. All three men end up in this final duel, and the final duel is probably the quintessential cinematic Western style of a gunfight, okay, that you see nowadays. And it's stylistically what defines Leone and his films, okay? He's got this just amazing soundtrack. He spends a lot of time focusing on the eyes and what the eyes are doing. You could see like sweat rolling down people's heads. It's this incredibly tense situation, and I don't want to give away too much, but there's a great surprise ending at the end. So, like I said, this film runs for over like 3 hours, but it's definitely worth the investment of your time, and I couldn't think of a film that is probably off your radar or maybe has been on your to-watch list for a long time and you haven't watched it, to watch for the first time. If you're a big fan of Westerns or Clint Eastwood, this film will not disappoint you. And because of the amazing cinematography, the great story, the amazing actors, the just striking music scores, I'm going to give this movie my number 3 position as far as the IMDb's revised 250 list. So as a little bit of a bookkeeping for the show, I'm still waiting for my 50th subscriber. So I've extended the contest from the previous episode another week. So if you want to be entered into that contest, all you have to do is be subscribed to the channel and go ahead and leave a comment down below about anything. Doesn't really matter. And if you can, go ahead and clickety-clack that like button and share this video with anybody you know that, doesn't already know about the show. Because I would really appreciate the exposure. We live in a socially connected universe nowadays, and that's the way people get their messages out there. So join me next week when I review Steven Spielberg's biopic about Oskar Schindler, Schindler's List, which came out in about the mid-90s, and is the story of Oskar Schindler, like I said, who is this amazing humanitarian who is very good. He goes through this whole transformative process, and the film is shot completely in black and white to give the film this just taste of authenticity, because it's set in Nazi World War II Germany. And so I'll get to that next week. I don't want to give away too much of my thoughts already. So, like as always, my name's Dominic Tringali, and I love film as much as I like Mexican food.